Mouse live. We are live. All right, we're live, and we're joined this hour by the legendary, the mighty, best kept, aka Mr. Cory Cofer. He is a poet, an author, a teacher of the year, a poetry playwright. I mean, it's a number of things. He's said and done it all. So really excited to have you. But Cory, before we get into all these accomplishments, and of course, hosting the legendary Dim Lights.
Okay.
Let's talk about where the story began. When did you first start writing? When did you first start getting into you know,
Just
yeah,
writing this stuff. Okay.
writing, yeah.
First of all, what's up, everybody? Oops. Phone on. Turn that phone off. Sorry about that. You know what? I started getting into writing just through my love for hip hop. I had an older brother and an older stepbrother. So I just had older brothers that would always walk around with the boom box and playing certain things and highlighting certain lyrics. And I just picked up on that. And I started writing raps myself after I stole my brother's raps and would recite them like they were mine. I started eventually writing my own raps, and that's how my love for writing started. And then my love for hip hop started, and writing poetry started when I took a class, a creative writing class in high school. That's when things took off as far as like wanting to just write with style and use different types of formats when it came to writing. I learned a lot of that in creative writing. And then moving on to college, I took some theater classes. You could say I kind of minored in theater, and I started doing monologues and things like that. So combining my hip hop flow style with my creative writing class and things I learned from that to just spitting monologues when I was in college. I combined that all together and I became a spoken word poet. I became best kept.
So where did you go to college?
I went to University of Laverne. I went to San Joaquin Delta College, junior college for 2 years. And then I transferred to University of Laverne, and I went there for football and for education. And that's why I played Division III football. A lot of people don't know that. Second team all league. We were undefeated one year, went to Division III national playoffs and all that stuff. So during that time I was playing football in college, I wasn't really into art except for just the theater classes I was taking. So that was like my art right there. That's all I had time for.
Yeah. So how did your taking those classes in theater, how did it like inform you in terms of like what you were going to bring to your performance art?
Just being believable, just using my voice. I consider myself a shy person or a quiet and reserved person. So it took a while for me to get comfortable with my voice and just expressing myself like I wanted to express it. I would rap back in the day. I made rap songs, but I was different. And I think that taking those theater classes just helped me. Not only that, but being comfortable with my body too, and just making my words matter when I speak them out. That was the most important thing. So theater played a big part.
So when was the first time you kind of like, you had this intention of becoming a hip hop artist, you had this intention of being like an MC, but then when did that transition take place when you started first coming into like contact with like spoken word and saying like, you know what, I can actually do that too, like that?
You know what? I was just seeing it. It was popping up, in little places and little independent channels, and I knew it existed. It wasn't until I went to 33 and the Third is where my mind was blown. Even before that, Lucy Florence Cafe, that's when it first started, and poets would get up and speak, and I was like, wow, and then I started going to a 33 and the Third spot, which just blew me away because it was like hip hop and it was poetry. It was like everything that I wanted in the art. So just watching the beats playing and watching Jerry Quickly get up there and spit his poems over beats, man, that was something else. And it was in a small dark cafe, vegan restaurant ran by a co-op of young entrepreneurs. So the whole situation was just cool. Like, to me, that's spoken word, and I know we're probably gonna get into Dim Lights later, but that right there is what we really modeled Dim Lights after, was 33 and the Third.
Yeah, so I want to get into that. So 33 and third, you get there, you see it. What kind of host was Jerry Quickly? Like what kind of, how do you feel the room? What do you feel that atmosphere? Because you're not just a
Well,
great
yeah, Jerry Quickly was on. He was an awesome host, man, because he made me earn everything I got as a poet. I consider him as a mentor. You know, I would come and I would do my poems and things, and I feel like he probably saw something in me. So he would always pull me to the side and just tell me about spoken word. He was like, "Yeah, man, just look it up, man. We're everywhere." And he kind of like he was like a I don't know. He was really on spoken word, and he was really like letting me know that this was something that I can continue to do and love to do it. And there were so many avenues in spoken word and so many people and cool places that it can take you to. So, but he would do that. He would put me to the side and do that. And he would always call me first. And I didn't like it at first, but I realized he did that for a reason. But it'd be a few people in there when he called me up on the mic, and I would get up there and I would do my thing. And I know he appreciated it, because when he started doing features and things, he started dragging me along with him, and he started putting me on lineups with him. And he would introduce me to other people like Shihan and things like that, and people just in the poetry, in the poetry circles, and basically kind of took me under his wing.
Did he
And
put, did he put
so I can continue. Well, just to go back to 33 and the Third, man, just he was a host. He's a very smart man, so I loved his hosting style too. He's very politically minded. He had a lot of things to say, and so he was up on things. And also too, he was just a dope poet. What he did as a poet is something that I really took to as well, and that was just kicking dope poems over beats. Not exactly rhyming over a beat, not exactly rapping over a beat, but just kicking a poem over a dope beat. Whereas instead of trying to be on beat, he was actually like holding hands and walking with the beat. So that style right there motivated me, and I did that a lot on my last CD too, just kicking poems over dope beats, and to me that's like the closest to rapping as you can get, but it ain't rapping though; it's still spoken word.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
Did he put you on first because he thought you were like really dynamic, that you were like a dynamic poet and you get everyone's attention? Is that why he put you on first?
He never said, and I never complained it. I never complained about it, but I'm like, damn, why he put me on first? And then like later on, get all packed up in there, and I'm like, I wish I would have went, and he'll start calling me up a little later afterwards, but he would put me on first all the time, and at first I took it like, dang, and then after a while I was like, hey, I came ready to go. I came ready to start off. And then I know moving forward, when I was hosting my own venue, I would do that too. I mean, there are people who I would put first, like you, Matt, Dave Romero, Judah One, because I believed in all you guys. And I knew that it was important to have a strong start at the beginning of a show, let people know, hey, especially new people never been there before. Like I would want to blow them away. So I would throw some of my strong cats up there and just to blow them away. So and that's what I tried to do without Jerry ever telling me to do that. That's what I tried to do every time. I came ready to go. He knew I was going to be ready, so just paying my dues.
Yeah. Okay, so in the process, Jerry introduces you to Shihan, who going to host the Poetry Lounge, and have his career. Who else did you meet in that time period? I mean, who are some of these people that were just kind of getting started out?
Oh man, so many people. All the Lamert Park cats, Spencer, Yao, Artist Mansoir, Scrap Lover Zulu. We all were going, because not only was I going to 33 and the Third on Mondays, but on Tuesday nights, the next night we would go to Worldwide Open Mic, and that was hosted by Scrap Lover Zulu. That's why I met artists and like I said, Albert the Waiter, the great motivator, Alice the Poet, all those cats. They're all at Worldwide Open Mic. Sandra Coleman, everybody. So when it comes to a lot of people, AK Tony, a lot of people that are in Lamert Park right now, they were there frequenting Worldwide Open Mic in Leimert Park. So I met a lot of those folks too, and I picked up a lot from Scrapula Zulu too, as far as being a host, man, because he was so positive, man. He was so welcoming, and man, he'll go all night long. I mean, he'll make sure everybody got on the list.
Yeah.
But we'll do that. I'm sorry, that was on Wednesday, and then the Poetry Lounge was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it was at a different place on Cahuenga. They sold alcohol from Modesto. Little bottles. I would go there, pay my $2 to get in, get my $2 alcohol, or my $2 beer, craft beer, and we chill, you know. And it was more living room style.
Yeah. Yeah.
There.
So yeah, at the time, Shihan I had the opportunity to interview him, and he mentioned like there was kind of a divide between like Leimert and what was considered like Hollywood or whatever, the slam scene, more the spoken word, if you will. But like it seems like like you would really bridge those two gaps, like that you could perform anywhere. I mean, given the style that you had, I mean, you seemed like you'd be accepted.
Yeah. There were people. Yeah, there was a divide between the Poetry Lounge and Leimert Park. I believe a lot of that had to do with just slam poetry, because at one point it was almost like that's what the Poetry Lounge was about, was this slam poetry, and it wasn't. I mean, there was a lot more. There was a lot of good things about the Poetry Lounge, like just performing in front of a big audience like that was always great, and but there's probably some other things too that I probably didn't know about, and I don't even like try to get involved in that.
Yeah.
I mean, there were things, I know Leimert Park is very, traditional too. And seeing a lot of these young cats come up who really wasn't really paying their dues, really like they were trying to, I mean, you had cats making CDs before they were writing books, and to a lot of poets, especially, poets has been around, hey, write your book, man. You up here trying to make a CD first. So just different little things like that. It was just a generation thing. I mean, that's always going to be something. And I know there's cats now who are looking at the new poets coming up right now and probably feeling the same way. But there was a little divide when it was come to that, and then but I saw good in both.
Yeah. But it seems just like a lot of like the content of what you do, the things that you write about, the stuff that you write about seems to be like that would get you like a lot of love and like Leimert, and there would be a lot of recognition.
Yes, yeah, it does. And
the style of your work though could translate in both places.
Yes,
the way you do it,
Man, I've been in so many situations where I was asked to have somebody write who rarely wrote, who never wrote. Where I'm conditioned to feel that if you're writing something, man, that's awesome. Yeah. That is awesome, dude. That's awesome. So that's how I always felt. That was always a perspective in which I looked at things, is like, damn, you're writing, that's cool. So it really wasn't my place to say if it was whack or it was cool, or if it was not relevant or phony. The fact that you're writing, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I do feel like this slam poetry I feel like it brings out the worst in poets. Poets that that you would kick it with and chill with and hang with. Now y'all slamming against each other, so that changes the things. That changes the way you see things. That changes the way you see that person.
Yeah.
If you lose to a poet, you may feel like some sort of way. A poet that you feel that you were better than.
Yeah.
That's what it does. That's what slam poetry does, man. It just it brings that competition aspect out, and it can get nasty sometimes. So
yeah.
And I know and I can see a poet that that's from the Leimert Park looking at some young poet who won a couple slams, walking around like they all that. I can see that. That probably pisses me off too, man. But and I slammed. So I there was a time when I was just all into slamming and stuff. And like my first year of being around, that's another thing too. I mean, my first year of being a regular at open mics, I made a slam team where I was on the slam team with Jerry Quickly, poetry, the poet, myself, and Tiffany, and Tiffany Scott. we had a dope, we had a dope team. We felt we were cheated. I feel like we could have went long, but that was another thing too. My first year, I was slamming, and I got into that. And as a poet, that's what you want to do. Sometimes you want to just jump in and do everything, So, I was trying to do everything.
Yeah. So, the HBO Deaf Poetry, how did that come about?
You know what? I just applied. I applied, and I didn't get accepted the first 3 seasons. I got accepted the 4th season. Walter Madu, when he saw my video and he said he liked it, and he liked my style, so I know he did a lot to push to get me on there. So I owe a lot of props to him. Yeah, man. So that's pretty much what that was. Just you turn your video in and just keep pushing, and hopefully they get you in there. So that was a good experience. It wasn't my best experience as far as poetry is concerned. Like my best, like something that I probably would relish forever. It was cool. You go there and chill, and if you felt important for a little bit, and got up and do your poem, and yeah, that was cool. That was a good experience. I have one regret though, because I'm a sports fan. I had a chance to go and watch the Knicks play at Madison Square Garden, and I had a chance to go hang out with some poets and have dinner. I ended up hanging out with the poets and have dinner, and I regret that every time I think about that, man, because the dinner was cool, but dang, to be in Madison Square Garden, I think they were playing the Hawks that night. That would have been cool, but yeah, hopefully I get another chance.
Yeah. 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 I've done similar things. I'm like, what? But I've also gone to like concerts when I had the chance to hang with poets. I'm like, what? So like, you never know, right? So like I think I had an opportunity to go hang out like with Denise Frohman, the poet from the East Coast. And she was doing real big, but then all of a sudden later on, she got like an Apple commercial, and this was before, right? But I had a chance to hang out with her because Dave Romero was hanging out with her. And he's like, hey, come on, hang out. But I ended up going and seeing a Lumineers concert or something like that with my girlfriend, and it's like that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. Like you never know which is the
yeah, that's true. That's true.
2020, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just persistence of that. So let's get into the stuff that the stuff people really want to hear about. Dim lights.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it get started? Like where did this idea?
Oh, Mike and Dim Lights.
Yeah.
So it's like a little story. So after going and hitting these open mics up and doing what I can and meeting people, we wanted to have an open mic in an IE because there was nothing out there. Because every time we wanted to go to open mic, we always had to drive a long way. There was nothing, not even like halfway, like in Cerritos or not Cerritos, but Montebello or anything like. There was nothing, not even in East LA. I don't think at the time. So there was nothing. So we just we started Mike and Dim Lights out of a necessity to have something like that. I feel like 33 and the Third, Worldwide Open Mic, the Poetry Lounge, and all the other open mics we went to during that time. Basically, Dim Lights was just a mesh pot of that, just to getting those ideas. JB and myself just getting those ideas together, and we just did our thing. So we just did it. We started at a co-op on 2nd Street. It was owned by some young adults, young entrepreneurs, another co-op, kind of like 33 and the Third. It was like more living room style. We had couches and things in there, and people start coming, and one of the places that we would promote our spot at, even before we even had our first show. I forget the name of the spot, but it was a hip hop spot held in the same venue as we were going to be holding Mike and Dim Lights at. And so that's where Triune was frequenting. Cat, I think Judah One was there. He was going through there. Everybody, Deadeye, Devoué, Ghetto Spear. So all those cats were at a hip hop spot, and we were hip hop too. So we was loving that too. We knew about that spot as well, So we was giving, hey, we're gonna be doing spoken word. Come check it out. So our first core audience was basically hip hop cats, and it just fit well with us because though JB, he spins all kind of music, but he's spinning dope hip hop anyway. And those same cats that was dancing and b-boying and MCing and freestyling, they were coming to our spot and they were kicking poems, so that's kind of how that started. I mean, those a lot of those cats became like a Macadam Lights alumni because they were like the first regular cats that would come through. Definitely Cat and Tamara Blue and Ghetto and Triangle and all them. So different way, they were the first cats coming through, and basically they were coming through because they were the ones getting the flyers.
Tell us about like I know as Dim Lights has gone on for like 20 almost 20 years.
Yeah, 20.
20. As it's gone on for 20 years now. The alumni was always a big deal. It was always this big thing. There was always they'd always return for the anniversary shows. The alumni. Alumni. So tell us exactly who was the alumni. Who are these cats?
I think the names I just mentioned: Cat, Tamara, Ghetto Spear, Brother Devoué, Traun. Who else? Jarrett Owens. Judah came in like in the second wave, but Judah was part of the alumni. He's a part of the alumni too, because he was a baby still. No, who else? I think that's like all I can think of right now. Of course, no JB.
Mark?
JB's part of it. I'm sorry.
Mark
Gonzalez. Oh, yeah, Mark Gonzalez. I kind of feel about Mark Gonzalez. Abby Atkinson, Manchild. Those cats too. Yeah. How can I figure out Mark? Yeah. So those cats too. There's a few other people too, but Mark moved out the state. I think even out the country. So we don't see him in a while, but he was part of that of the alumni as well.
Yeah. So
we would do shows, and that's another thing that's what made us great together, is the fact that we would do shows, and like Claremont colleges, they'll give me like $1,000 to do a show for 2 hours. So I bring like 10 people, or 9 other people with me, and I give everybody $100. That's how we do it. So we would do shows around at different universities and things, and I would just I was usually asked to come and spit, and I would bring everybody else with me, and we would all do some shows together, so we'd all make a little extra money. Then we'd probably go hang out and eat afterwards.
Yeah.
So
with the there's the alumni, but then there was there was a second wave, a third wave, a fourth wave. I mean, how many people that went on to really, I'd say, get let's just say like tour nationally. Leave it there. How many of those people got their start at Macadam Lights, would you say?
No, there's a lot of people that got to start out at Macadam Lights. I mean, so many people. I mean, yourself, obviously, like Dave Romero, Cat, MCs, writers. I mean, and not just touring nationally, just doing different things. The people who have come through the doors of Macadam Lights, they're doing big things. Now, I don't give credit to Macadam Lights for that, but there are a group of people who got to hone their craft at Dim Lights and they got better, because we're a very welcoming crowd, and people come in, they come. I've seen people come in shaking, reading off of paper to like, full on performing in front of thousands of people at other places across the country, so I just think having something like that, especially for people in an empire to frequent, actually helped a lot of people in a lot of ways when it comes to that, and just different little things that I feel like Macadam Lights was a part of, like, people meeting, there's a lot of couples that are married right now that met at a Macadam Lights. We even had, my man Ant Black propose to his wife at a Macadam Lights. Were you there that night?
I know, but of course I've heard about it.
Yeah. He proposed. She didn't even know. She was just sitting there. And it was good thing it was dim lights, because the lights were dim. They're all dark. So she didn't know that all of her friends and family members are in the audience as well. And Ant Black came up and did that poem, and then I proposed to her. I get goosebumps thinking about it right now. Yeah. We turned the lights on, and then she saw everybody else. Yeah, it was good. yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was good.
But,
so Macadam Lights starts at Taco Nazo, right?
Yeah, we're at the Millennium Arts Lounge, the co-op. They got shut down, so we moved down the street to Taco Nazo, and Taco Nazo was probably like when we started getting attention, and people know. Now I've noticed this now because we left from that, but I know that having food and alcohol at a poetry venue is not a bad idea, because people get hungry, So we're at Taco Nazo for the heart of our, maybe like from like our third or fourth year all the way to like our 10th, 11th year, or maybe not even that. Anyway, I get it. It's all a blur now, but we're at Taco Nazo, and so we enjoyed that. Marissa brought us there, and we had the stage there, and so a lot of good things happened.
What was the capacity like at Taco Nazo? Taco Nazo were the Aladdin Jr. or the Buffalo Wild?
Yeah, it was a few places. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. The reason we ended up leaving Taco Nazo because they had an open mic. They had a band playing next door. They built a barrier and so they can start having bands next door. I mean, it's in the same building, but in another room, and it got a little too loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame Marissa. She had to make her money. She had to do her thing, And there were other art genres out there that needed to be heard too as well. So she had some punk bands there, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, this was like punk bands. So like when I was hosting over at Café con Libros, they had we were booked the same night as a metal night.
Oh, and yeah.
There was like metal like playing there, like death metal.
Yeah, man. When they play, they get in there.
Yeah. So you move over to across street to the at that time it was still owned by Cal Poly before
it was still owned by Cal. Yeah, we moved to the Cal. I forget what they called it then, but we moved over there to the theater that was across the street, and that place I really wanted, man, because I wanted that theater place. I know people were like honing their craft, and it went from just hanging out and doing poetry and enjoying and just keeping with your friends to like, hey man, I want to just perfect this. I'm trying to travel. We have people doing stuff, doing CDs and doing live shows and putting on different things. So it got to a point where like that theater was perfect for that, because the poets, even including myself, we were growing, we were getting better, and then the audience was getting big too. So we kind of outnumbered. I mean, we all grew to Taco Nazo. I mean, a lot of people were standing up when they got there. So we got to the theater. And that was cool because you had all these seats and it was dark and you had this theater right there. And so that was cool, and I was grateful we were grateful to have that.
Yeah.
And this is us going every single Thursday, it's having features and things like that. So so basically, we went to the theater, and that's when things changed too. So even though we still kept the same vibe, from the living room vibe to the beer and tacos vibe to the theater vibe, we kept the same, the same energy no matter where we went.
When you moved into the theater, did you just notice like a big uptick in like the amount of people that would show up? I mean,
yeah, it started at Taco Nazo though, but so it when we moved to the theater, there was a little uptick.
Yes, I remember going there some nights. It was just packed. It was just
yes.
Hundreds of people in a room that was designed for maybe 120.
Yeah, like 99, I think.
Yeah.
Legal number.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty incredible time.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was it like booking these out of town features? I mean, what was that like? Was that
It was cool. I would if I found out they were gonna move, they're featuring at the Lounge or another place in town. So me and the other hosts will try to get together. Cause I know when poets hit up, poets. I mean, no matter, even if you're paid, you're getting paid. You're still not, you still want to make some money. So when poets do their round, we were just part of that round. When people came to the area, came to the Los Angeles, they would come in. They would hit up all the spots up, and we're grateful that Dim Lights were one of the spots that they wanted to hit up at. So they would come up and kick some poems and. We'll try to give them a little something out the door, and they meet new people, and sometimes they gain other features while there. So it was all about networking and things like that. So that was cool.
So I want to talk about some of your own work though, like outside of just being a host and like a Dim Lights. You also you wrote a book around the up the street around the corner.
Yes.
Yeah, a book of short stories. I always thought that was really incredible. That was really.
Yeah. That was like prose, short stories. I'm a storyteller too, and I'm still trying to master that, master storytelling in my in my traditional spoken word style. But that was part of the that was something that I'm proud of, and yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do. I had a book before that, just when I was on the poetry scene, called Open Mic, and that was like a little chat book. Um, that I had actually before I was around the corner, and also even and after that chapbook, I did come out with an album called Blues Language, and Blues Language I'm very proud of because I used every single resource that I had from a Micah Dim Lights to create that album. So there was a woman that sang opera, so I used her voice as a track, and I did a poem about my grandma, and her singing opera was part of it was like my grandma's soul speaking to us. That's what I got from it. And then I had a guy that played the flute, and I did a poem about the flute. I had some musicians that we used. I had a beatboxer, brother Ed. I did a poem over his beatboxing. So basically, that was the most organic thing I've ever done in my life. Is just basically using all of my friends to create an album.
Who was the guy that was humming? I can't remember his name right now. I know that
The voice. Yeah,
voice.
yeah. So he would hum. He was known for he can sing, but he can hum too, boys. Yeah.
He could hum. He could really hum.
Man, we would hum over him. We would kick poems over him humming.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, the voice. Yeah.
He goes by the voice.
Yeah, no, he was yeah.
And he's an alumni too as well, alumnus.
Yeah. So tell us about the show over at the Red Cat at the Disney Theater or Disney.
Oh, so I did a small theater piece called Homeless Beatboxer, and basically it was based off of conversations. Let me back up. Before I even started Mike and Dim Lights, my friend Bomani would come down, who also is an alumnus. Bomani, he worked at the Miller plant. So he came, they sent him out here from Milwaukee. And I met him at an open mic. So then when he would come out, he would Bomani would pick us up because he'd have a rent a car. He'll be out here for a week working, at the he's an electrician. So he'll be working at the Miller plant. Anyway, he'll pick us up, and we'll go hit poetry spots up all the time. He eventually moved out here to downtown LA, eventually. So with Bomani and I, we did a project where we would go and we just have conversations with homeless people on the LA streets, because he lived in downtown LA, and we'd have conversations and we would talk to them. We'd even give them some food to eat and things like that as well. And it was a cool experience, and a lot of them opened up. I remember one homeless cat saying, like, "Man, 300 people's passed me today, and you're the first person to come by and it's just to say something to me. That means a lot, So that felt good to know that. Anyway, we did that, and then for those conversations we had, I wrote a piece called "Homeless Beatboxer," and then it was ended up being a longer piece than I thought it was, and then we hooked up with Rick Kirby Hines, who is the theater chair at UC Riverside, and he helped us direct that into a theater piece with Bomani and LaVoice. And then we did that around, we made a little rounds with that, and then we got accepted to the Red Cat Theater to perform it there. And that's where we performed it at. And that was a cool experience. But also, not only was it was cool, but it was cool to just to bring a little attention to the homeless population.
Of course.
During that time.
Yeah, no, and Kirby does a lot of very important work. He also he was the director of the play Dreamscape, right?
Yeah, Dreamscape, yeah. And he's even had some other things, He's a part of the hip hop theater movement. When hip hop theater first started, his hip hop theater play was one of the first plays that was promoted and that was recognized as a hip hop theater piece, hip hop theater play. And Homeless Beatboxer we consider that a hip hop theater play too.
Yeah. And did you take did he do the? Am I mistaken here? Did he not do Dreamscape over at the Mike Dim Lights?
He did Dreamscape at Dim Lights. Yes, he did that. Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah,
that was awesome too. And they traveled all the way around the world with that, and also too they won a lot. That play won a lot of awards, and it's a movie right now too. I believe it's a movie out. It's a movie.
Yeah, yeah, definitely made a lot happen with that. That project definitely had legs. So in addition to being a poet, to doing kind of experimental theater, you're also a teacher, and in La Puente, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, Rolling Heights. Yeah.
Rolling Heights. And
Rolling Unified School District. Yeah.
one of the things that you did there, though, is you were recognized as Teacher of the Year because of largely, because you're very good at what you teach, but also because of some of the poetry clubs. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Well, my Teacher of the Year award happened within my first 3 years of teaching. When I was teaching, and it really didn't have too much to do with poetry. It was just basically I was just basically a teacher. I teach. I'm a special ed teacher, mild to moderate special ed teacher. So basically, a lot of my students, they have normal IQ. However, they when they learn differently. They have learning needs, and that's the population that I serve. But yeah, that then I was there for about 4 or 5 years, and then I moved to Nogales High School, which is in La Puente, like you mentioned. In Nogales High School, I kind of wanted to make an impact there. I was coaching football because the reason I moved to LA was for football, to play football. So I was coaching football. That's why I moved to the high school, and I was teaching special ed. And then I kind of got tired of coaching football, so I kind of stopped. But I still wanted to have an impact on the students, so I started a poetry club there. And so I met some wonderful kids at the time who are now adults who who I'm still in contact with. And we just took off from there, and the district caught wind of it, and we were like basically whenever the district needed poets, they would call Nogales Poetry Club up, and we'd go and kick poems, and so it was a fun time. I must say that was the most fun I've had while being a teacher was that time when Nogales Poetry was alive and thriving.
So you would bring guest poets into Nogales Poetry Club.
Yes, I bring guest poets. Excuse me. I wanted to expose the students, because a lot of the students had never even left La Puente. A lot of those students had never even been to the beach before, and they're in Southern California. So I thought it was important to bring poets from all over, from different perspectives, for these high schoolers in La Puente to see. So, and many of the poets I brought have had lasting impact on these students. So, yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Who are some of the poets that you brought into the?
Okay, so yeah, who I brought several people. I brought Dave Romero was there. You were there. Kat came through. Sam Bloom came through. Who else? So many people, so many poets. Superb. Mike the Poet.
Yeah.
And so many poets. So they got a chance. Like, I wish I was in high school and I would have got a chance to see all that talent come through, all those guys, all those women and men coming through and representing,
Yeah. You've mentioned Mike several times now. Mike, I want to give you, was actually the first time you mentioned Mike, but I want to ask you about, I know you had several collaborations with Mike over the years.
Yes.
Mike Sonskin.
Mike the Poet was another cat I met, man, and man, we hit it off right when we met it. Him and Phil were already in a group called Poets of the Round Table, and they adopted me into that group. Also Lady Vet, so we would go around kicking poems together as a poetry group. And so Mike was part of me, because there are not too many poets I hung out with before I started Mike and Dim Lights, but a lot of people don't know me until Mike and Dim Lights started. But I was a poet just running the streets and hitting all kind of stuff up at the time. And Mike the Poet, like, he would throw gigs. Mike hosted, he had a venue, he had an open mic every single week, but it would be at different venues, an art gallery, a church, a theater, a bar, so Mike was everywhere. So he would always hit us, "Hey, Best, come through, man, I'm going to be here." So we would go and hit that up too. So so Mike definitely was very was a big impact on LA poetry for me.
Yeah, I would remember seeing you, Mike, and I think it was
Philharmonic.
no, I wasn't around with Philharmonic, but
Okay.
it was you, Mike, and Bus Stop Prophet.
Bust
You're
Stop Profit. Yeah,
popping out of
yeah,
the audience, doing
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing, like in the quest to find your own voice.
Oh heck yeah. Oh
Remember
yeah.
that? So
Yeah.
who
You know what too? Now I wanted to mention the collab too. That was an open mic that was put on by Rachel Kahn, and that collab, man, that was dope because you can only get on the mic if you was collaborating with another poet or another artist. So that was really cool too. So that like got people working together, and that was instrumental, and just getting people just doing group pieces. Because before that, people only did group pieces for open mic. I mean, not for open mic, but for slams. So just to be collaborating with different people, yeah, that was also cool too. So that forced you like you had a week or two. Or I know her thing was every 2 weeks, I believe. So we had 2 weeks to find to collaborate with somebody. We hit the stage with that. So that was dope.
So whose idea was to bust out of the audience?
You know what? Mike the Poet, they were doing that back in the day. Back in the day, popping out the audience. So they're the first ones I saw to do that. So
Or him and Phil, or him and or just
yeah, him and Philharmonic, yeah, they're the first one I started doing that.
yeah.
They're writing group pieces too. I mean, people were writing group pieces, but not many. My first group piece that I ever wrote was a group piece with Shihan. He asked me to write a piece. I got this feeling, I got this feeling I'm gonna laugh. I got this feeling I'm gonna die tomorrow. I got this feeling I'm gonna live tomorrow. So we all did a version. We both did a version of that. That was pretty dope. But that was my first group piece, and I believe we popped out the audience too on that one.
Yeah. No, when I came on the scene, I totally stole that shit. I was always popping in the audience. I was like, that's a good idea. Yeah. At the time, I didn't think I was stealing. I just thought, whatever. But like in retrospect,
Yeah, one of the best shows we did as a group for Nogales Poetry is like, imagine having 15 poets in a poetry group all sitting amongst the audience. And so we started our show out with this poets is popping out. I am blah 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 blah. I am. So as an audience member, you're like sitting there, then here's a poet right there, or there's a poet behind you, and then everybody's popping up. So that was amazing. But we knocked that out though, So heck yeah, you can get creative with that. Even with the alumni, man, we did like a 12-person group piece ourselves. So we did that at the Poetry Lounge after we beat them in a basketball game. So yeah, it was crazy, man.
I know. She used to have those basketball games. So who ended up who has the winning record?
We won. We won 2 games to 1. Hold on one second, man. I gotta go see something real quick. My daughter's crying. Can you hold on one second, please?
Yeah. So you heard it here first. Dim Lights won the basketball rivalry with Shihan. I'm going to tag Shihan right now in this conversation and let him know that he's been exposed. Shihan Van Cleef. Cory Cofer says Dim Lights won the basketball rivalry. What say you? All right. So we're waiting for Cory to get back. I just tell I can tell you my own Dim Light story is that my Dim Lights where I got my start. I was coming back to Los Angeles, having lived in Dallas for a while, and I've been back for a minute, and I connected with a poet named David Romero, and but I didn't connect to him to poetry. I was connecting to him more political stuff, and we were at a May Day rally that was on a Thursday. So on a Thursday, and later on we met up and we went to some weird kind of thing in Brea, I think first. I don't know what it was, and then where he was supposed to be doing poetry, and it was it was one of those weird, like you're competing with a buffet line or something. And after that, we went to Pomona and we got to see to just Micah Dim Lights, and it was like just packed, and there was over 100 people there, like over like 150 probably in an area that probably should only had like 100. And I remember it was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I saw a poet named Judah One get up and he did this poem, and I kind of understood like how he did it. I could like kind of like look at the parts, the moving parts of the poem, and I could kind of figure out what he was doing and how to do it. And so, um, not that I would, not that it was that simple. It was just more like one of those things where you hear a voice and you know you can imitate it. Like so, I heard something and I saw like, oh, okay, I know the tricks and trades. I know the kind of ins and outs of what he's doing here. That my mind processes information very similarly. Like you have a beginning, a middle. There's some foreshadowing, and at the end, you're going to bring back this thing you introduced. And so that's how I got started doing poetry by going to dim lights and just ruthlessly stealing from people. I was telling
On the
my
last part, I'm sorry, man. My daughter just woke up from her nap.
yeah, no, by all means, by all means. I was just telling my little dim light story while you're there, and I also challenged Shihan to respond to your claim that you won the basketball rivalry.
Oh yeah, we got him.
So yeah, where were we? Where were we?
I forgot.
You just defeated the lounge at basketball.
Yeah, we beat down in basketball. So we whoever won 2 out of 3 was going to host the other venue. So we won that. We won 2 games out of 3. We won the 3rd game. Yeah, that was good. So we got a chance to host the lounge. That was fun.
Were the games competitive?
Yeah, the games were competitive. Yeah, we were getting in there, man. We were getting in there. Yeah, Omari, man, wanted to beat up Brother Devue, because Devue kept fouling him. There was all kind of stuff going on, man. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell us about the Hey moment.
Oh, basically that was just I told myself I was going to do one more CD, and that was pretty much it. But that was a CD that I created where I found every dope beat I can find, and I wanted to spit a poem over it. And I wanted to show the Hey moment was basically showing the connection between hip hop and spoken word. And I said that my thing was, hip hop and spoken word has always been cousins. So my CD, the Hey moment, is when they tie the knot. Wait, that was wrong. They've always been engaged. What cousin's gonna tie the knot? God, that's not wrong. But yeah, cousins in there. Yeah, not cousins, but anyway, yeah. They've always been hip hop and spoken words has always been engaged, but my CD is where they tied the knot at, basically. So my thing was, the whole point was just to show the connection between hip hop and spoken word.
Yeah. So then yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm kind of distracted by the cousins. But so the Hey moment comes out. You have a manuscript that you're working on right now. Can you tell us a little about that? Cory is tending to daddy duties. So when he gets back, we're gonna talk about that manuscript. It's gonna be good. Still no word from Shihan. But that's typical. He shows up for the trophy, not so much for the. Got some cool posters back there, man. Do the right thing. Al Green, off the wall. Good stuff. See if there's any questions down here. So this is life in the era of the COVID. So, way it goes.
So I'm back, dog. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay, man. It's quarantine life. So, yeah. So tell us about your manuscript, though. Tell us about your upcoming manuscript.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Your upcoming manuscript. You're working on.
Oh yeah. So, Classic Raps is basically a book that I'm working on, and what I mean by classic raps, this inspiration for that is basically like when you hear a classic rap, you never forget it. And a classic rap can be a song from your favorite hip hop artist, or just a rap from one of your uncles, just them rapping to you and telling you about life that you never forget. So I wanted to write a book in the spirit of that, of classic raps, basically something that you would hear from your uncle, or a dope verse you would hear from a song. And that's the spirit I want to leave when I write this book that I'm writing right now, when I complete this book that I'm writing right now. So
Yeah.
classic raps, and then it's in the spirit of hip hop. And then also too, I mean, I'm such a proponent of hip hop and spoken word and poetry and that being all connected. And this is just another vehicle I can use just to show that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I know. You can just say no because I didn't ask you to prepare ahead of time. But is there any way you could share a poem with us?
Yeah, I can share a poem.
All right, cool.
I definitely could. Let me see. And just so you know, as I'm tending to my little daughter right now, there's another thing too that I failed to mention. Now I have a daughter that's going to be turning 21 in a week now, in less than a week, June 3rd. And that's one thing that I have to acknowledge is that during this whole time of me just being a spoken word poet, hitting the streets up, and also too just having a mic and dim lights. This whole time I've always had a child, so just being a poet and being able to balance that with having a family has always been something that has always been it wasn't easy to do at times, but it's been something that I've been able to do. And so I do appreciate the fact that my family and my kids definitely, for the most part, and wife has been understanding about that as far as like allow me to live my life as an artist and also live my life as a father as well, and a husband, so and that's the whole persona of best kept, best kept secret, best kept, like I can be two different things at one time. Even now, since I've moved to the school I've been living at, most of the teachers don't know that I'm a poet, and so it's the best kept secret. Anyway, yeah, I could kick a poem. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh. Single parent household still got the scars. Mama found a new man, she feeling like a star. Compared to my real dad, he wasn't up to par. 40-cent bus rides, we didn't live far. I wish my parents stayed together like the Cosby Show. Both parents in the home watched the seeds grow. For the breeze flow, could have been some weed smoke. Mama's man had a job, we still stayed broke. Butter and the cheese, big block rectangle. Life fella slippery, it's hard to untangle. Stranglehold had a living life from an angle. Rap distracted us, LL rocked the Kango. Crush groove, still groove, we groove when we crush. Turbo, ozone, backspin, that was us. Plus, we played ball in the street. Dominique Wilkins, Carl Lewis with his feet. Hitting home runs, tennis balls, stick bats. I was Reggie Jackson in my baseball hat. In fact, childhood came full of facts. The things that I thought I blocked out came back. And then my mama finally married her man. She went from Reedy Cofer to Reedy Austin. Often we played Jeopardy together. Dude was pretty smart, personality clever. Never would I put him in the place of my dad, but at times he was the only father figure I had. And yes, I know that he made mistakes, but now that I'm grown, I can better relate. He once told me I'd be president someday, still reaching for the stars since he told me that May. His bag of pork skins, Michelob tall can. To this day, it's surreal that I won't see him again. His bag of pork skins, Michelob tall can. To this day, it's surreal that I won't see him again. All right.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That was fantastic. Hey,
Thank
so
you,
like
sir.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but like one of the things that you once told me was that I didn't have to write in complete sentences.
I'm sorry?
One of the things you told me was that I didn't have to when I first got started. One of the things you told me was that I didn't have to write in complete sentences.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I told you.
Yeah. Like he
Yes.
like chopped it up a little bit, like,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and that became something like I ended up becoming kind of known for, I guess, or I don't know if I'm known for it, but it just became completely part of my style. It's like not
Hmm.
to use like little bits and chops, little phrases, but it was just like it was a passing piece of advice. It was just like this really just like quick
Yeah, yeah. Just do. Yeah, man.
kind of drop with that, and that
It's all
became
about that poetry license, man. Having
yeah.
a license to write what you want.
Right, but that little sprinkle of advice really changed the entire way I approached how to write like performance poetry, spoken word, whatever you call it. So
Oh, that's cool.
was there any time anyone like said something to you and they don't even know it, but it like completely just like blew your mind as to
Yeah,
like how
man, and like in several different, not just poetry, but in several different aspects, just like different advice that people give me, or they will say something different. It's crazy. Like I remember, like a few years ago, my youngest son, he was like 80 at the time. He taught me how to. He's like, oh, Dad, this is how you do. This is how you open up another page on the computer. I'm like, damn, and that's that was like the most valid, greatest pieces of advice that I ever got when it comes to being on technology, being able to open up other pages. I didn't even know how to do that, and that was like 3 years ago, So I would log out and try to log something in, and I was just old school when it came to that. But little stuff like that, that was just a little piece of advice that went a long way. But also in forms of writing and stuff like that, um, just someone just told me to tell my story before, and just tell your story, and that advice was very informative and helpful for me too, because sometimes you're trying to think about other stuff to write about. Let me especially as a poet, sometimes when you are writing what and you want to think outside the box, sometimes if that's not your area, or if that's not your area of expertise, it don't come out right, if you really know what you're talking about. So someone was like, just write your story. So ever since then, I've just been writing my story,
yeah.
how I view it, how I see it, how I feel it, and how I've experienced it. So yeah, just write your story. It was just very simple, but effective.
Francisco Escamilla asks, Matt, what is your funniest, best kept story? To which I answer, what happens in Pomona stays in Pomona. What happens in the Pomona Arts Colony? Oh man. And Rob Sturma says that Micah Dim Lights was always the warmest vibe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What's up, Frank? What's up, Rob?
Those are our comment section. I mean, there's some more, but I can't see them because of Zoom, the way Zoom's
Yeah,
set up.
yeah.
So I really appreciate you taking this hour with me, Cory. And where can
Thank you for
people?
having me,
Oh yeah,
Matt.
of course. So where can people find anything that's for sale, like the Hey Moment or the previous albums, or
The hey moment is on all the little things, I guess. Uh, Apple. I mean, yeah, Apple or Spotify, I guess. You can find it from, I guess it's out there. And that's pretty much it. The book I have is sold out. I haven't made any more copies yet. So I'm just working on some stuff and getting some stuff together. But that's pretty much it, though. I mean, the Hey Moment is what you can get that's out there right now.
and where
So
can they follow you for when the next book drops?
um, just my page. When the next one drops, or when it's about to drop, I'm gonna be all over the place.
All right, they'll know.
Trying to promote it. So yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it right there. There's so many things I want to do. I want to collaborate with so many people that I'm just kind of taking my time and just kind of seeing what's out there. And I have two kids going to college this year. My son and oh, my little baby girl. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. My little one, she ain't having it, dog. She's not having it today.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. We're wrapping up.
Oh, it's okay. I had to ignore her for a couple minutes.
Any advice you have for up and coming poets? Any last words of advice?
I'm sorry.
Any last words of advice for up and coming poets?
Hold on. Hold on. All right, I'm back, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's all good.
Okay.
Any words of advice for up and coming poets who are scared to get out there?
She's not gonna let me finish this.
It's all good. Thank you for your time, Cory. We've been joined this hour by the legendary Cory Cofer, aka Best Kept.
Hey, to answer your question though, any advice for poets? It's pretty much the same thing I gave you. Just write from your heart, and then write what you know and write what you feel, and don't worry about what other people say.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Cory. And how old is she?
She is 2. She just turned 2 not too long ago.
That's the year. All right.
She's pissed off right now. She's pissed off.
All right. Thanks, Cory. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot, man. All right, take care. All right.